The girl was told the closet was cozy, which is the kind of lie adults tell when they want a child to adapt to something that they should not have to. She didn't argue, she just stepped inside. The door clicked shut with a soft, smug confidence, like it had been waiting for this moment. The closet smelled like cedar and old renters. Skirts hung above her like wilted flags from forgotten nations. She huddled in the corner like animals that learned to keep quiet to survive. The closet smelled like cedar and old renters. Skirts hung above her like wilted flags from forgotten nations. She huddled in the corner like animals that learned to keep quiet to survive. She curled up on a folded blanket and listened to the world happening on the other side. Each night the closet changed shape because fear loves geometry. Some nights it shrank until her knees kissed her chest and her breath bounced back into her face. Other nights it stretched into a tall, echoing cathedral where the darkness climbed like ivy and whispered to her that she was the only worshiper who would ever show up. In that way it was honest. She wasn't powerless, though. She discovered that if she pressed her palm against the back wall and pushed, not physically, but with a stubbornness of wanting more than she was ever given, the wood warmed. The wood and the wall didn't move, but it changed temperature, which is the first step of rebellion in any prison. The clothes above her, sensing it, began to sway. Not from wind, closets don't have weather, from something more dangerous, belief. Soon they leaned towards her like witnesses ready to testify. A coat dropped a sleeve onto her shoulder, a kind of soft solidarity. Even the shoes in the corner straightened up, as though remembering they had once crossed entire cities instead of gathering dust in silence. The night she finally stood up, the closet tried to protest. The night she finally stood up, the closet tried to protest. It groaned in its hinges, tightened its air like a fist, but she kept pushing that same impossible push, palm to wood, desire to boundary, and something cracked. Not loudly, but decisively, a sound like a truth was being admitted. She stepped out. The hallway light hit her eyes, bright and unapologetic. Behind her, the closet stood open. Our darkness looked smaller now, almost embarrassed. The space that once swallowed her whole just was a box again. She didn't slam the door, she didn't need to. She walked forward, and that was the real closing. Because closets come in many shapes, and escaping one teaches you to recognize all the others. The child, if she was a child, was assigned to broom closet by decree of the house, which had a talent for reassigning meanings to the way magicians reassign rabbits. A wink disguised as a groan, a promise disguised as a threat. Inside, everything was alphabetized by silence. The coats hung like conspirators, button-mouthed and heavy with unsaid things. Their shadows didn't fall, they rose, climbing the walls like smoke that forgot which way was up. The shoes huddled toes to heel, heel to toe, stuck in a perpetual argument about who should lead, yet incapable of stepping out of line. She lay on a blanket that had been folded so many times She lay on a blanket that had been folded so many times it forgot it was meant for warmth. Sometimes the closet was coffin small, other nights it dilated into a corridor of ifs and ands and buts and a long hallway of grammatical hazards. The air was thick with clauses that wouldn't close. She leaned to read the dark like a cryptic crossword. 4 letters home, but only if you ignore the clues. 7 letters shelving, which sounds a lot like selfing if you say it without breathing. 3 letters ask, which becomes task once duty nails itself to it. She traced her finger along the back wall, pressed a particular knot, the wall warmed, first like breath, then like memory, then like something considered defiant. It didn't open, but it listened, which is the first rebellion any wall can muster. The coats rustled, subtle as gossip. A sleeve brushed her cheek, not a touch but a hint of one. The shoes straightened, finally agreeing to face forward. The whole cramped kingdom conspired with her in the dim. One night she stood, the closet tensed, ribs tightening. She pushed, not hard, just honestly, and the door quivered like a guilty eyelid. Its latch clicked open, faint as an apology. Light spilled in sideways. The hallway stared at her, confused to find her alive. She stepped out. Behind her, the closet deflated into mere timber and hinges. Robbed of its metaphors, the darkness inside shrank like a lie mid-sentence. She didn't close the door. Leaving it open was its own sentence. A clause without a pause, a declaration that the smallest rooms can no longer dictate the size of their occupants. Safety has a scent, and this place didn't smell like it. It smelled like dust holding its breath. The light flickered with a stutter. Behind her, the closet door left nobly ajar, shifted just a hair. Not a slam, not a creak, of recalibration, as though the space was inside reconsidering its role in the story. She walked. The floorboards followed her steps a half-second late, echoing footsteps that weren't hers. A delayed mimicry, a mocking applause. She quickened her pace, but the echoes kept lagging behind, accumulating and snowballing into a second set of steps, then a third, then a crowd. She didn't turn around. Turning around in places like this just gives the dark permission. The house's walls, once content to be architecture, began whispering, not words, syllables, fragments, the grammar of nightmares. Undone, under, don't, all the half-built thoughts a mid-mind can have before it spirals off the rails. She reached a corner, and the hallway elongated like it was stretching before a race. The shadows bent, the angles disagreed with geometry. The house inhaled, and she felt the air thin, not from fear, but from something that wanted her small again, closet small. Her heart beat thudded against her ribs, loud enough to have consequences. Behind her, the closet door clicked. That was no recalibration. That was a decision. She turned. The door had swung wider, far wider than she'd left it, stretching open like a grin with too many intentions inside. The dark had grown teeth, not literal teeth, but the shape of hunger wearing the costume of space. Something moved along among the coats, a swing not caused by any breeze, a ripple like fabric remembering bodies that weren't there. The shoes on the floor shuffled, rearranging themselves into a polite, predatory semicircle. She backed away, but the hallway resisted, floorboards curling upward like wooden fingers, trying to lead her back inside. The air thickened, the shadows lengthened with purpose. The closet began whispering too, not syllables but her name, not spoken but implied, urging her to return, urging her to resume her designated dimensions. She felt the house lean, physically lean, tilting her weight towards the open door, not violently, worse than that, as though being small again were inevitable. Her hand brushed the wall, the one knot she'd once activated pulsed like a heartbeat, as though being small again were inevitable. Slow, deliberate, answering her touch. The house paused. The closet froze mid-whisper. She pressed harder. The knot glowed in the invisible way, its own invisible way. Heat spreading, heat spreading like defiance toward radioactivity. The wall hummed, a resonance the house didn't approve of. Something in the structure groaned, a deep, ancient timber bone protest. The hallway trembled, the echoing footsteps stopped dead. The closet shut its grin. Light flickered once, twice, enough for the darkness to reconsider its appetite. She stepped forward, not running, not fleeing, just moving with the kind of certainty predators don't know how to digest. The wall of her sides stayed warm, like a secret ally. The house didn't dare lean again. Some places feed on fear, some places wilt when confronted with a spine. She kept walking. The air around her steadied. The corridor remained long, but it no longer stretched. The echoes didn't follow. Behind her, the closet door clicked shut with an unmistakable shiver. Spaces like that don't die. They wait. But so do people. And people are the most dangerous species when they finally understand their own scale.